if he came along today and did that. And listen, even right now, when leaders, preachers and pastors and leaders sometimes have to rebuke people. It's not pleasant. We don't look forward to it, and we try to avoid it if at all possible. But sometimes it becomes necessary to do that, and they want to say, well, you're not showing love. I think you're showing some of the greatest love you can show when you rebuke someone who needs to be rebuked, and rebuke them in a wise fashion. You need wisdom from God to do so. So there's a balance to all this. If Jesus thought and taught that we should lay down in the face of injustice, he wouldn't have done that in the temple. If he thought and taught that we should lay down in the face of justice, that, in other words, there are those who say that Jesus was a pacifist. I got news for them. They better go back and read the book. A pacifist don't play to whip and run people out. That ain't the action of a pacifist. A pacifist is, that word pacifist means pacify. Because it comes from a root word, pacify. He didn't pacify people. He did anything but pacify people. And when you tell people, look here, when you have 7 times more to say about hell than what you do about heaven, you're not hardly pacifying anybody. He was not a pacifist. That is nowhere to be found in the Word of God. He was definitely not a pacifist. He was an activist. If you want to call him anything, he was an activist. And he expects us to be activists in the right call. Listen, if as the leftists teach, if he was a pacifist and he was always meek and mild, and he taught people never to be boisterous, never to take any kind of action against injustice. If he was like that, like they make him out to be, how did Martin Luther King, as a pastor and as a leader, as a religious organizer, how did he lead the greatest civil rights movement in the history of our country? He was hardly a pacifist. He did it peacefully, but he wasn't a pacifist. Listen, a pacifist, more likely, ain't going to too much lose his life. But the cause that Martin Luther King stood for cost him his life. Jesus was hardly a pacifist. And anyone who follows his example won't be a pacifist either. So, the Constitution allows us as people to stand up for what's right, stand up for injustice, call it out, and stand up for it. And there are sometimes it may cost you something. It may even end up costing you your life. But stand up because you have the biblical right and responsibility, and you have the constitutional right and responsibility to do so.